Ladies and gentlemen, we meet again toward Parashat Matot for a short and sweet idea, which I find very, very interesting. We have a issue here that we've never had before, which is the resolution of a conflict in a very interesting way. There are two tribes, Reuven and Gad. They come up to Moshe Rabbeinu, and if you can imagine, all of Am Yisrael are now based on the east side of the Jordan, waiting to go into the land of Israel, waiting to go into the promised land. And two tribes come to Moshe Rabbeinu and say, no, we don't want to go to the promised land. We want to stay here on the east coast of the Jordan Valley and not go in to the land of Israel. Moshe Rabbeinu gets a shock. What is going on here? Don't you know that is the reason that we stayed another 40 years in the desert? Because the previous generation rebuked, didn't want to go into the land of Israel. That we can all suffer because of this suggestion of yours, and we can all stay in the desert for another 40 years. What are you doing? And he was very, very angry at first. And then, however, they found a resolution. Why? Because they explained themselves. They said, listen, we want the Kedusha of the land of Israel. We want the holiness of the land of Israel. But we want to stay here because we have a lot of cattle and there's a good grazing ground. It's a beautiful area. Let us please stay here. So Moshe Rabbeinu said, no, you can't do that. You have to come with us to the land of Israel. So they came with a suggestion. We will be the frontline soldiers of capturing the land of Israel. We will be at the forefront of every battle in order to capture the land of Israel. And once the battles are over, only then will we go home to our homes on the east coast of the Jordan Valley. And Moshe Rabbeinu accepted that. However, with a small change in their plans. So first of all, the first message is not every time somebody objects to you, even objects to you in a terrible way, in a way that you have a president that is negative. You don't fight them. It's not a korach that they have to be eaten up by the land, by the ground or the nest. It's not a terrible thing like the Meraglim. No. We can find a resolution. When we find the common interests, Rabbi Sachs writes about this in his book on the parasha called Lessons in Leadership. This is a lesson from Moshe Rabbeinu to Yeshua, how to resolve conflict. So that's message number one. Sometimes we can resolve conflict without actually having to fight it head on. Number one. Number two, what is their request exactly? The request is, let us make, please, fences for our cattle and homes for our wives, and then we will go to fight in the front line in capturing the land of Israel. Moshe Rabbeinu accepts the offer with a slight change. He says, first of all, you build homes for your wives and children. Then you can build fences for your cattle, and then you can come, which means let's get your priorities right. This is a lesson. The prioritizing is, first of all, take care of the women and children. And only secondly, do you take care of your cattle and your belongings. We see further, that's the second message. However, this message filter through, the Talmud tells us that the message didn't fully filter through. How do we know that? Because we have Arei Miklat, we have towns of refuge for people who accidentally killed another Jew. And they have to flee to a town of refuge. And how many such towns of refuge do we have? We have 6 Arei Miklat. We have 6 towns of refuge. Where are they positioned? 3 on the east coast of the Jordan and 3 on the west coast of the Jordan. That doesn't make sense. Here there were 9.5 tribes, and here there were 2.5 tribes. So why do we need 3? If three such towns are enough for 9.5 tribes, why do we need another 3 for just 2.5 tribes. And the Talmud tells us what the answer is. The answer is, if these are people who count more and think more and give precedence, first of all, to their cattle and their belongings before they care about their own women and children, they care about possessions more than they care about life itself, then they are prone to have more accidents, more fatal accidents, and therefore they need more. So even though Moshe Rabbeinu gave this message over, the message wasn't fully accepted, obviously, because otherwise we wouldn't have needed so many towns of refuge on the east side of the Jordan. The last message I want to share with you is from the Sfat Emet, and the Meshech Chacham come up with a tremendous idea to say, okay, so what did they really have in mind? Reuven and Gad, who came to Moshe Rabbeinu, and with this suggestion, what was their motivation? What was going through their mind besides the issue of possessions? On a spiritual level, what was going through their mind? So the answer is something very beautiful. They were connected to Moshe Rabbeinu. They didn't want to leave their leader. They heard that their leader is not going to cross the Jordan. So they were saying, we want to stay here with you. Instead of you, Moshe Rabbeinu, dying, stay alive and live with us, Reuben and Gad. And this way, we can have you. We can have you amongst us. Okay, you've got a promise that you will not be let into the land of Israel, but let's do the opposite. Stay here with us. And let's bring the Kedusha of Eretz Yisrael over the Jordan to us. And that was their idea on the spiritual level. It was very beautiful. They had such a strong connection to their rabbi, to their leader, that they didn't want to leave. So we have these messages in the parasha, messages that we have to take and relate to them until today. Very important messages. Shabbat Shalom.